I have a decently powerful custom build with a GTX 970 and a 4790K from Intel. It's enough for me to play games very well at 1440p, edit my 1080p videos for YouTube, and work on my 3D projects. I thought I had a good understanding of what a powerful PC was until I got the opportunity to work with something new, a laptop that completely dethrones my PC in terms of performance, but with a very hefty price tag. Introducing the Alienware 15R4, the newest portable powerhouse from Dell, and what is likely the most expensive thing I will ever get to review on this channel. This video was made possible with the help of PureVPN. This is a VPN service that will keep your browsing data secured and away from your service provider or other snoopers. Make your browsing safer today with the affiliate link in the description. The exterior design consists of plastic for almost the entirety of the build. The top has a very hard plastic that looks and somewhat feels like metal, and the fully black parts of the laptop are made out of this soft touch plastic. The bottom has a metal plate, however. Don't be discouraged by these materials I listed because this laptop is incredibly sturdy and has very little flex. The top consists of the hard plastic material, some air vents, which are very necessary for this configuration, and the Alienware logo. The bottom consists of the metal plate which houses its internals, the 7 screws holding it together, the 3 rubber feet, and the access of air vents for, again, ensuring that the CPU can stay as cool as possible. On the right, we've got more air vents, a USB 3.0 port, and some lighting strips. On the left, we will find a Kensington lock, more air vents, a USB-C port, a USB 3.0 port, a mic port, a headphone jack, and some more lighting strips. On the back, we've got an Ethernet port, a mini display port, an HDMI port, a Thunderbolt 3 port, a port for Alienware's external GPU enclosure, power in, and more cooling vents. This laptop features a 15-inch 1920 by 1080 TN display that gets reasonably bright, nothing too special. However, this is a 120Hz display with G-Sync, so this model is geared towards gamers in particular. This refresh rate is pretty awesome for gaming and just normal use, though it's not that great for content consumption. Games do look nice and sharp on this display, and the colors look nice. It's good to see how much TN panels have improved over time. The keyboard is pretty awesome. This keyboard uses zone lighting, so it's not quite customizable, but you do get a pretty nice light show if you tweak it with the settings. The keys have quite a bit of travel and are very nice for typing. However, the gaming test was where this keyboard really shined. The layout is a little strange because they needed to make room for the macros on the side, but overall, it's easy to get used to and the keys are very nice to use. The trackpad is made out of glass and feels pretty awesome. It reads, gestures well, and lights up nicely, but I feel like it's a bit too small. Once you've tried out on the trackpad on the new MacBook Pros, it's tough to go back to anything small. The buttons beneath it are very nice and clicky. Even though I would have preferred a clickable surface, these buttons are so clicky that it kind of makes up for that. This trackpad is very nice. The lighting effects on the lighting strips are pretty darn awesome. This is a complete gimmick, obviously, but it adds greatly to the gamer aesthetic. You have lighting options from morph to pulse to color to breathing to spectrum to rainbow wave, which is my favorite, to static default blue. This also applies to the keyboard. All of these customizable options are within the Alienware Command Center, which is included with this laptop. The webcam is not very good. It's a 1080p camera, but it's super grainy, so you definitely should not use it for streaming or any kind of content creation. It's okay for normal use, but since this laptop will likely be stationary for most people, I'd recommend just getting an external webcam. The speakers are pretty loud and have some bass. They are front-firing, sort of, since the speakers are next to the laptop's opening lid. For watching movies and other videos, it's alright. They do sound better for gaming than not, but also pretty decent for listening to music. Here are some tests.
Much easier. Performance in the software is incredibly smooth and I haven't experienced any hiccups along the way. Most Photoshop projects will not suffer because the specs are good enough to accommodate them, and the performance goes to prove this statement. Premiere Pro performs incredibly.
This laptop features an Intel Core i9-8950HK, which is a 6-core CPU running at 2.91 GHz, a GTX 1080 Max-Q GPU with 8 gigs of VRAM, 16 gigs of RAM, 1TB hard drive, and a 512 gig SSD. Now let's start with our gaming test. As usual, we will begin with Final Fantasy XV, the Windows Edition. This game runs at an average of around 85 frames per second on ultra settings with anti-aliasing turned on. This is a rather steady frame rate, but when we start getting surrounded by a bunch of enemies or when entering an area with a lot of assets, the frame rate does drop to around the mid-70s. Overall, in an intensive scene, such as the battle against Leviathan, it manages to retain its average frames per second of 83, which is pretty darn awesome. This game is a blast on this machine. Middle-earth Shadow of War performs very well. At ultra settings on everything, it runs at around 90 frames per second and looks quite nice. Even when the hordes of Uruks approach, the frame rate hardly dips by 5 frames per second. This laptop crushes Shadow of War, and playing it here is a pretty fantastic experience in its own right. Doom, with every additive setting enabled, which includes TSAA, and running at ultra settings for everything, ran at an average of 110 frames per second. This was very surprising. I've never had this game look so sharp while running so smoothly on any other machine. This laptop completely crushed Doom in every aspect. Before we get to the performance aspect of Photoshop, it should be said that for all kinds of color accurate work, you should consider either springing for the 4K 60Hz display or purchase a separate monitor. With that aside, performance is unsurprisingly smooth. I don't work with very complicated Photoshop projects, but simpler ones I did work with were handled unsurprisingly well by this machine. Good stuff. Performance in Adobe Premiere Pro was also pretty fantastic, but this program is much more demanding than Photoshop. I experienced zero stuttering and was able to work with 1080p footage at full resolution with adjustment layers, color correcting, different transitions, and more without any troubles at all. This laptop would make for a killer video editing machine and is even noticeably faster and smoother than working with my 4790K GTX 970 desktop. After Effects had almost identical performance to Premiere Pro in this regard. I was able to make the new Tech Summit intro with it, which involved a lot of layers and a lot of assets thrown into the timeline, with each one containing keyframes. This laptop crushed After Effects, and I'm very happy with its performance here. The high clock speed and core counts of this laptop's i9 is a big reason for its success with productivity software. Now let's get into benchmarks. I wanted to benchmark this laptop through Heaven and 3D Mark TimeSpy. Our Heaven test, after a few minutes of letting it run, gave us a score of 2253 with an average frames per second count of 89.4. This is with the quality set to Ultra, Extreme Tessellation, 8xAA, etc. This GPU performed very well. For 3D Mark, this will test the CPU and GPU in conjunction. After a few minutes of benchmarking, it scored 6,221 for the GPU and 5,081 for the CPU. Battery life is just okay for this machine. You can get about 4 hours of battery life on normal use, but gaming or editing will dramatically drop that number to closer to 1.5 hours. You shouldn't carry this out with you without taking a charger. A tough order considering the massive 240 watt power supply this laptop needs. One of the many lovely things about this device is its upgradability aspect. This laptop comes with 16 gigs installed to 6 of 8 gigs each. Unfortunately, if you wanted 32 gigs, you would have to buy 2 16 gig DIMMs rather than just one. Storage is also upgradable, and that goes for both the M.2 SSD and the hard drive. There's an empty slot for another M.2 SSD if you'd like to add another one. There is plenty to be done with this machine. This laptop is a complete powerhouse, so using it is always a pleasure. Using it for the simple stuff like typing up papers, watching videos, and browsing the web are very nice to do and super smooth. Most importantly, gaming and editing are an absolute pleasure here. This laptop passed every test I threw at it with flying colors, and I experienced nearly zero slowdowns throughout my testing. It's just unfortunate that this laptop is too big and too heavy, so I would need to purchase a separate bag for it if I want to carry it around. This laptop is an absolute joy to use, however, it's important to bring up some gripes that I've got with this machine. I realize that I can't complain about the required power supply for this laptop, but it is pretty massive. Hopefully in the future the size can be brought down without compromising wattage. The webcam could absolutely use an upgrade. No doubt there. Something close to the quality of the Surface laptop's camera would be appreciated. I wish that the keyboard was a little more wide, and that is because I'm used to keeping my hands further apart than I can keep them because the WASD keys are more centered. But that's really it. Very minor things for such an awesome machine. Whew. With everything we've covered, I believe it's about time we conclude this video. The Alienware 15R4 is a pretty amazing device for what it is. It offers tons of power while avoiding most of the issues that plagued the MacBook Pro's i9, and is very aesthetically pleasing. this laptop tanked every test I threw at it with flying colors. But the question is it worth spending all that money? Could you build a PC that's cheaper than this laptop but is just as powerful? You absolutely can. You can build this whole configuration while getting a more powerful version of the i9 and save about $900, including the 144Hz G-Sync monitor, but no keyboard and mouse. You being able to carry this machine with you is what should make or break your decision of purchasing this laptop. If you need to carry all of that power with you and having proper equipment to take this laptop with you, then it is tough to beat Alienware offering this time around. Do you know what other offering is tough to beat this time around? PureVPN. They offer safe browsing across any web browser while keeping your browsing data away from your internet service provider or any other snoopers. They offer unlimited data transfer from streaming or downloading. They have more than 2,000 servers in over 140 countries and work through desktop and mobile apps. You can also stay active on 5 different devices at once from the same account with 24/7 tech support. To get yourself signed up, click on the affiliate link in the description. For more content, make sure to subscribe to our channel, and to stay updated when a new video comes out, make sure to click on that bell and enable notifications. For links to everything featured in this video, expect to find those in the description, as well as links for what to watch next. This has been Francisco from Tech Summit. Thank you for watching, and I'll be seeing you all later. Enjoy.